cylinder head. We took it apart. The valves all look pretty good. The reason we took it apart was the valve spring broke. We decided, since it had such high miles on it, that we would go ahead and do all the valve springs. Then we got into it and found that the exhaust valves themselves weren't seating anymore, and that was the cause for the low compression. The purpose of this video is to show you how we're going to do the rest of the inserts where the spark plugs blow out of the V10 engine, and I think also the 4.6 and the 5 point whatever. You can see by looking at this close, there's one I've just completed, and there's the old engine thread, and actually that's 4 threads, an aluminum head that's supposed to hold the spark plug, and eventually they blow out. If you call Ford, they tell you, bring it on down, $2,000, we'll take care of it for you. A couple of new heads, you'll be ready to go. That's nonsense. This is TimeSert's fix. It's called the TimeSert application thread insert, and it's for designed specifically for fixing the Ford Triton plugs or heads. We're going to go through this step process to install one of these so you can see how it works. I want to do one with the head off, although you can absolutely do it with the head on without any engine disassembly outside of removing the plug and the coil. The first step in this process is to go ahead and counterbore it and take the old threads out. We're going to use this particular tool to start with. It's a 2-piece tool, and it comes together and you put it together with your Allen wrench right there. And it's going to slide right into the spark plug hole. I believe we're working on number 3 here. Oops, I better tighten that up. First step is to take this and put the first edge. This is your driver tool. You use it for almost every step of the process. There has a little key here, right here. Slide this in like this. This is a chamfering tool. This cuts out the old threads. This chamfers out for the new, to a certain depth for the new insert to go into. And we're going to tighten this up so it stays put. Just to snug up with an Allen wrench, just like this. Okay? This is the insert we're installing. They're specific to this head, and each head has its own size. If you look at it closely, you'll see that the threads are on the inside, and there's threads on the outside in the shoulder. What this does is this piece right here cuts enough into the head so when you insert this, it's flush where the old tapered seat was for the spark plug. It gives you a new seat for the spark plug. This little dent right here is where you put your Loctite. You need to Loctite these in, and then there's a tool that goes through the middle that actually expands this. You'll notice that the threads disappear right there. It actually knurls it into position so that there's no way it can come out. Now, if I was doing this on the truck, I would coat this with good axle grease or some kind of lubricate to catch the filings so they don't fall into the engine. One of my tricks is to use a vacuum cleaner with a small hose attached to it. I would actually shove it through the cylinder after I got this done, and I could suck all that debris out. But I can do this dry. This is hardened steel, this is aluminum, but it actually get a better cut if you use a little bit of lubrication. So I'm going to use a little bit of my Aero Crawl here that I really like. It's just like 15 bucks a can. We're going to do that and get a little lube on it. And you go ahead and insert it into the hole. Now it's okay to do these different processes with power tools. In fact, I kind of recommend a good air wrench. Not a high-speed one, but a good ratchet wrench works good to work it in because it takes a minute to grind through these old threads. Okay, so we're going to start, we're going to run it down. You don't have to worry, you can't go too far. There is a shoulder that stops it, so you can just go until it's turning free. Here it's turning free. Now I want to show you guys something. There's a reason why you need to make sure that your valves are closed and your piston is down. Why? If you look right here, you see where it comes through. If your valves are open, it's going to nick the valves. Okay. Also, you need to make sure that your piston's down because this is an interference motor, which means that piston comes almost to the top. If the piston's at top dead center, it will nick the piston as well. So you have to be careful when you're doing it on the motor. My favorite trick is to have somebody help me. I bump the starter with my finger over the hole until I feel compression. Then I stick a wooden rod or a wooden dowel down in the cylinder to mark where the piston is. Then I know my valves are closed and my piston's down, and I can go ahead and do the work. Here's another view of us running it in. Give you another look at it. So you can see it from the cylinder side, which most people never get to see. Filings little bit of oil, see how they stuck on there? With grease, you do the same thing, and it keeps it from falling down the cylinder. You see, we really haven't lost much, but just a little bit right here. This can easily be gotten out with a little vacuum. Look at it close here, you can see the threads are now. I don't know if you can really see down in there, you can look close, but you can see how it's cut the face of the seat and recessed it flat for the next step. Okay, we're done with the first step. Now let's go ahead and remove this tool. I'll set these all aside and then I'll clean them up before I put them away. I'm going to drop this out. I've got the holder again. The next step is the cutter tool. This is what cuts it and sets your shoulder for your insert and gets it all the right diameter so you can thread it. So this one's going to slip in here again in the holder, right in just like this. You're going to tighten it down. Again, I'm going to use a little lubrication. Normally you would pack this with grease so that when you're doing it on the truck, that it's actually catching all the filings in the flutes, and you can clean the filings out of the flutes once you pull the tool back out of the head. It helps eliminate getting it down inside the valve, inside the cylinder. So a little bit of a really expensive aerocol oil. And again, we're going to run it in here. And you can see it doesn't go in very far. I've got my block of wood to set my head down on to give me a little clearance underneath. And then we're running the tool again. And we're doing the same thing with this. It'll go down until it doesn't go anymore, and it will seat itself. Okay? I'm going to try and get this as centered as I can. It will move around a little bit. As you can see, it cuts pretty quick. Head sliding on me. My great workbench. Give on that last little bit. I'll seat it all the way through. Again, a really good reason to make sure your piston's down and your valves are closed. Nick this, you will be pulling the heads. A little bit of lubrication goes a long way. Aero crawl, some really cool stuff. But on the engine, you're going to have grease that'll work just as well. No lubrication when you're cutting with a steel blade against aluminum is going to scar it and cause galling. A little lubrication is absolutely required during this process. It doesn't say that in the instructions, but you really do need it. Now we're going to clean it up with a little bit of ether. So that noisy strand of tape. But you can say we have a really nice hole, no more threads, perfect for the next step, which is threading it for the insert. Again, I'm not a videographer, so I hope you guys can put up with my weird camera angles. This is it. The tap is specifically designed just for this purpose of the right size. We're going to go ahead and take this tool out. Again, we're using the same holder. Slip this one in, lock it into place with a quick turn of our Allen wrench. And again, I'm going to shoot a little juice on it, a little cutting oil. And we're going to go ahead and put a little in the cylinder here, just to make sure we get a good cut. Slip this in. Now this particular part, you can do this if you want with a power tool, but I recommend against it. I think this part, threading, is also always better done by hand so you can feel what's happening. And we're just going to go ahead and thread it in. You'll see it come out the other side there as soon as we get it going. Of course, it's making a wire out of me. There we go. Bit of a chore, but you can get it done. The camera shaking is because the table's shaking, and like I said, my equipment sucks. Here we go. Coming in. One more time. A good example of make sure your valves are up. I don't want anybody crying because they nicked a valve because they watched my video. I'm not an ASE certified mech. I'm actually a backyard mechanic that's gotten pretty good over the years. I just don't care to think that it. I'm going to go ahead and run this in as far as it'll go. It's loose now, so it's already cut the threads. Go ahead and cut this back out. Nice and simple like. This is the only time you're allowed to back any of these tools up. Every other tool in here you only turn one way. The only time you back it up is when you're removing the tap. Even then you have to be careful. If it feels like hanging up, make sure you can get in there and try and clean some of the crap out of the thread so it doesn't gall up the new thread you just cut. There we go. Our hole is now ready for an insert. I'm going to clean it up a little bit. Okay, we're getting down to the nitty-gritty now. Take the tap out. We're going to install the installer tool, which is just this little piece right here. Now normally you have a long Allen wrench you can stick through the top. You can actually tighten this into place and you can make it where to hold on to it. When you get it down in a hole in the motor, it gives you the ability to pull it back out. But since we don't have that problem here, and the O-ring will hold it just good enough and I can push it back from this side, I'm not going to mess with it. There is a complete set of instructions with this kit and they're very good. So the first thing is first, I've already cleaned the hole out with ether. I've gotten all the oil out. You should do this on the engine as well. Find a cleaner that you can squirt through the spark plug hole that's not flammable. And then try and use a little hose to go through the hole with your vacuum to suck all that cleaner out and dry out the cylinder so you don't leave any of it in the cylinder where it'll score the walls. It's important to get the threads clean because otherwise your Loctite and so forth aren't going to work very well. Right now, since this just came out of the bag, we're just going to give it a little heat. Okay? Dry it off. By the way, that's all Loctite primer is anyways, mostly ether, because it just cleans the oil off. I'm going to put a little dab in that little hole right there, so when I knurl it, will squeeze it and lock it into place. Once this insert is in, it never comes out. That's one of the beauties of this thing. So we're going to just collar down, screw this on here like this. That's all there is to it. And we're going to slip it in the hole and screw it into the newly created threads. Okay. See it going in right here. Not necessary to make it real tight. If you did, now we're just going to back the installer tool out. You'll find that it is already seated all the way in there. You can see where it's at now. Now this tool is expanded at the end. It goes into these threads right here, and as you drive it in, it will knurl the outside out. It is imperative that you use lubrication on this tool. They give you a little bit of oil to use with it. It's a specific kind of oil so that you don't damage the threads while you're expanding this. And this is going to be a little hard to turn, but the idea being is it's actually stretching the metal and permanently installing it into the and permanently seating the insert into the head. So we're just going to screw it in there, and it's going to start screwing into the threads. You'll see it come through. It takes a little bit of work, but this is the final phase. Once you complete this, you've installed your insert. You'll see that it gets really hard to turn right here, but what it's doing is it's expanding that metal. Necessary to make sure the insert, this is what makes it different than all the others. It will not come apart. Period. Ever. For whatever reason. Once it goes through, drive it as far as it'll go and then back it off. And there you go. You have a clean insert. One, two, three, four, five, six. That steel insert is steel and it has 6 threads. It will hold the plug. This is aluminum, and if you count it, there's like 4.5 threads, and it will not hold the plug. There was a lot of controversy about these engines when they came out. Ford still refuses to do a warranty on these, but that is absolutely a bad design. There's no way the plug's going to stand there. They'll stand there till you try to change it the first time. And even if you follow their steps and you're careful and you torque it down to the inch-pounds that they require, you're still going to end up with plugs popping out. And every time one of these plugs pops out, it takes out a $70 coil. Not fun. Oil changes I can show you, never more than 5,000 miles. Always running the original weight oil, 520, which is what this engine calls for. And I'm going to get easily 1,000,000 miles out of this motor, or excuse me, 500,000 miles or more out of this motor. Have fun.